the car. Now, I think it would be a very weird position to be in where Vernon's trying to rip your leg off and the Weasley twins are like, no! And nobody really thinks about how much it hurts to be pulled in two different directions.
I don't know. You have that incline table that stretches your back out. That might have felt great if you had a bad back like us. But no, you're absolutely right. All joking aside, that probably would be pretty painful, suspended between literally a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, and potential, like, you know, breakage of limbs on the ground if you fall.
And then, as they fly away from the house, he hollers out, "See you next summer!"
Which is the most smart-ass asshole thing to say.
Harry Potter is sassy as fuck. This is something that people who only watch the movies don't get. Because in the movies, he's not this way.
Right.
And I don't know if he says it like this exactly in the movies. I don't really remember them that well, so I guess we will find out at the end of this book. But right here, he's sassy. There's no other word for it. And he's just like, got away. I could picture him flipping them off as they fly away, just being like, I win. Fuck ya. Bye. Bye, Felicia.
Especially because you know that motherfucker expects them to pick him up at the end of the year at the train station. Like...
You almost got a spit take out of me there. That was really... Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. He's got to get a ride home eventually. He's like, can you guys come and get me now?
I know you had me locked in the room that I escaped from, and I was kind of a dick when I left, but I can't walk. So, yeah, I thought that was really good. Ron, once they're in the car and well away from the Dursley house, Ron's like, so, what the hell's been going on, bud? We haven't talked? No letters? Why you locked in a room? And they find out all about the Dobby situation.
Right. It kind of runs a pretty clever little recap. They start to talk about house elves and kind of, you know, I don't want to say the system they run on, the rules regarding house elves and how Ron kind of thinks that Harry was being lied to, or at least fucked with, by somebody else. And they go into, well, is there anybody at school who maybe you don't get along with?
It was a little bit interesting how Ron took a literal back seat during this whole conversation, because the twins don't really understand that he has an enemy. And apparently Ron hasn't been listening to his dad's conversations as much, because the twins just take this. They're like, house elves go with rich people. Lucius Malfoy, definitely bad dude. That must be Malfoy's dad. And Ron's just kind of sitting back there like, oh, yep. Also, Ron can pick locks too. We found this out here.
Attaboy.
Because he lets Hedwig out.
Yep, he gets Hedwig out of the cage. And so she can stretch her wings for the first time in a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, they talk about the Malfoys, and Ron doesn't really have much to add to the conversation. But opposite that, the Weasley twins, they sound like they know a lot about the Malfoys.
Yeah.
And so they get into the story, once again, about how after Lord Voldemort fell from power, the Malfoy family, pretty much, but it was Lucius, said, you know, I was under control of him, and I didn't want to do any of it myself, and I'm cool now. We're all good guys again. And
whoops.
Right, exactly.
Didn't mean to.
And how most of the wizarding world accepts that as true, but these characters obviously don't.
Right.
They think they're all full of shit, which, yeah, you would. You would.
Well, and this is the first mention of their dad. Harry's like, how the fuck did your dad know that that I got in trouble? And they mention that, well, Dad works at the Ministry, and he's like, oh, well, what does he do there? He's like, well, he works in the Misuse of Muggle Artifacts office.
The most boring job there is, they say.
But I thought it was super interesting, because they talk about how Muggles the Muggles lose keys. And so they have, like, shrinking keys. And they have, like, solutions for all of what our Muggle problems are. All the things that we do. It's all wizards. That's where all of our problems stem from, guys. It's not our fault. We don't forget things. Wizards are fucking us up.
So be honest out there. How many of you have lost your car key, your house key, your mailbox key if you're in an apartment? I've done that one. I've lost my mailbox key about 6 times in the course of a year. I had to keep going back down to the office and like, $5. Oh, fine. Okay, here. Yeah, I just lost it. But now I know I didn't lose it. It just shrunk.
It was a shrinking key, yeah.
God damn it.
Well, and there's a teapots. They bite people. It's super interesting. And then they bring up the car. Harry's like, well, this that we're in, does your dad fucking know that you have this? No?
No.
He does not.
That's Grand Theft Auto, bro. And it's funny because his job is to investigate things like this. Muggle things used inappropriately. And, okay, the first funny point that I wanted to make was they said, yeah, if Dad were ever called on himself, he would have to arrest himself because he's obviously breaking the law. He's keeping all of this Muggle shit and, like, putting magic into it, taking it apart, seeing how it works. I really like Arthur Weasley because I'm kind of the same way. I like to get into things and see how they tick.
And I really like how they say that Mrs. Weasley is really irritated by this habit of her husband's because she knows it's fucking illegal as hell and he keeps doing it. And you don't do things that are illegal, but there are plenty of things that you do that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I wish you would knock it off. As much as I love you.
I am who I am, baby.
Right. And those things make me love you all the more. And I'm sure it's the same way for Mrs. Weasley, but at the same time, she's like, God damn it, Arthur. You literally work there.
Well, and on top of that, his whole family knows. This isn't a secret that just she keeps. Like, oh, Dad's got something in the shed that he's working on. No, the whole family knows.
Right.
And on top of that, his kids have the audacity to steal his car.
But I think that's one of the things. It's just the wife being irritated by the husband continually doing, because he's going to do it either way, and she knows that. And it's setting an example for the boys, like you were just saying.
Right, exactly. This might have something to do with the twins' mischievous nature. I mean, in the Bruni household, if you stole a car, you died. You never saw the light of day again. But we weren't a magic family. So.
But our boys also give me shit all the time, verbally. And I think that also comes from Dad.
Maybe a little bit. Hey, I tell them to be respectful, though.
You do, and they try, and usually they're like, Mom, I'm joking. Can I just say another joke, and then I'll be done and apologize?
Then I'll be done and apologize. That's how you can get it in, son. Mm-hmm. Being flip is just part of my nature. It's better to be a smart ass than a dumb ass. You can take that one from the old man himself.
So it happened earlier this evening. One of the kids gave me a smart-ass comment, then the other one did, and then the first one came up and, I don't want you to be mad. I just want you to be happy, and gave me hugs and kisses.
Suck up.
Just like Dad.
Yep.
So at this point, we arrived to the burrow. The kids think they're in the clear because the sun is just coming up. They're like, all right, we made it. We made it. Nothing bad happened. Yes.
They begin to talk about the plan of how they're all going to sneak into the house, go up to their rooms, and then they're going to come down and be like, oh, look who showed up in the middle of the night. That way they don't have to fess up to stealing the car. And Ron's like, yeah, you can come to my room. I'm all the way at the top. And at first I thought that his face turned green because he stayed all the way up at the top of the burrow. But that's not what it was. His face turned green because as he looked at the house, his mom was hauling ass towards them. She wasn't running, but she was doing that thing where you can kind of picture her dress was like, I don't even know if she was wearing a dress,
But that's what you picture.
Yeah, this is what I picture. Like, her skirts were all hiked up, and she was just thumping towards them. You know, like when you're a kid, you get in trouble, and your mom's like, oh, that's it. You are done. And she does the walk.
And the look?
Yeah, the look. And just before she grabs you by the ear and tells you what is what, that's what Ron is reacting to, not the height of his home. But it explains it in the same thing. It's several stories high.
And held up presumably by magic.
It was described as a brick pig pen.
It's got like 7 chimneys.
Right, with little additions here and there. And like Jade said, it's all held up by magic. It shouldn't stand, but it does. And that's their home.
And Harry loves it.
Yeah, and he thinks it's great. But all of this is surpassed right now by Mrs. Weasley trudging through the yard at the boys. They're already busted. Forget about hiding that we stole the car. Forget about sneaking up to the room. We're done. And then for the next, and it describes it in the book, what seems like hours, she just has the fuck at it.
Until she goes hoarse. That's literally what they say.
Yeah. Yeah. You wait till your father comes home. He's going to hear about this. I can't believe you did this. You could have been seen. You could have been caught. You could have been killed. Hi, Harry. How are you?
Yeah.
You guys are in so much trouble. Wait till your father gets home.
I've been so worried about you. You can't even... And you know, like, thinking about it, if we woke up and our kids weren't fucking home and the car was gone, the amount of sheer panic and upset that would come. And this is in the 80s, and they're magic. They don't have fucking cell phones.
Yeah, there's no GPS.
There should definitely be some type of communication going on here, but there's not. And she's just like, shit, my kids are gone. I just gotta wait for them. And she was obviously sitting somewhere in her house just watching and waiting.
Which tracks, because we know her to be the sweetest lady ever. The first time Harry ever met her at King's Cross Station, she was like, oh, dear, is it your first time getting on the platform? We need some help. And, like, she had 7 kids to balance, something like that. And she was totally taking all the time necessary to make sure this other little stranger child got on to the Hogwarts Express. So we know she's a sweet, kind, caring, patient woman who was obviously just sick with worry that her children were gone in the middle of the night, but pissed off because so is the missing car.
And her 3 most troublemaking children. Like, we know that at this point.
Right, who give her the most shit. But yeah, so I can kind of sympathize with her too. Even though, you know, when you read this, you were younger. I didn't. You did. Mm-hmm. You're probably like, oh, oops, they pissed off mom. Oh, no. But now, as an adult, you can read this and be like, well, of course she chewed their asses out. What the hell did they think they were doing?
Yeah.
But then she very calmly turns to Harry and is like, come on in and have some breakfast.
Because she sympathizes with him, and it's not his fault. Come in and have breakfast.
Right.
But you know what we should do?
What's that?
Instead of breaking fast, we should have a beer break.
Ooh, good segue, JD. I'd love to have a beer break.
Yay!
All right. Well, this week I am drinking peanut butter porter from Saugatuck Brewing Company. The can says that it's smooth and creamy, and they're not lying. That's for sure. I like the back.
Always like when a beer has a description on the back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. We've had a couple, and a lot of them are pretty clever, too.
Yeah, funny. It's good.
This one says, a classic porter rich with the delicious harmony of peanut butter. Open the top of this flavorful beer for a silky smooth drinking experience. No spoons required. So, and they say, cheers, here's to happy. So, I dig it. It's not my favorite peanut butter beer. That's a pretty high bar, though. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a sucker when it comes to peanut butter. This is a pretty fucking good beer, though, guys. I would definitely never turn one down if it were offered.
I think it's a good, easy drinker.
Oh, you could definitely drink a lot of these. That's for absolutely sure.
Tonight, I'm drinking Monkey Fist Brewing Company's GW's Little White